How's it going today, knife nerds? Alright, so we have the Bestech Togatta on the table today. This is a Bestech that was designed by Morgan Cones, who is a custom knife maker out of Canada, I do believe, that primarily does custom fixed blades, but he wanted to break into the folding market. And so he came up with this design, and he contracted Bestech to make it for him. But this was a very limited production run of knives. He did 3 different versions of the knife, three different colorways, I guess you would say. And this being the most flamboyant of the 3, obviously. But he made 60 of each, and we have here number 41 of 60 of this particular version. Now this is a biggin, okay? We've got an overall length here of 9.125 inches, and if you see here, with that puppy in hand, I've got a good, over an inch of handle sticking out when I'm fully choked up on it. And yeah, this is a big one. Okay, so blade length is actually 3.75 inches, so we don't have a huge blade length. That's a pretty average large knife. And we have a handle length of 5.25 inches. So, when you look at the knife in some angles, it appears to have a weird blade to handle ratio. But then in other angles, it looks perfectly fine. I don't know, it's a bit odd to me. I think it's something about the design elements of this knife that make it seem like it has a really extremely long handle when it's actually not all that extremely long. I do have a comparison knife here that most people will be familiar with. This is the ZT-0452. And so these are similar in size. Now, if we place the 0452 here and kind of line up the pivots as best as possible, you can see that they're pretty similar in handle size. But we do have more blade on the 0452 here. So, it does tell me that this blade to handle ratio is a little bit odd. But it's not terrible, and it's certainly something that you can get used to. I just think that, the design elements of the knife, the way that the back here kind of comes to this point, and it has a backspacer there, I don't know, maybe they could have figured out a way to fit more blade into this handle, and it would have been a little bit better. However, with that little tiny gripe out of the way, let's move on to the pros of this knife, because there are a lot of pros. Obviously, we're going to take a quick look at the overall package here, which is just stunning. We've got this beautiful two-tone finish here with a hand satin flats, and there is a belt satin grind out here at the tip that gives you this crazy compound grind, but it is not a zero grind. You still have a normal cutting edge there that you can sharpen on a regular sharpening system. So there is that. And then we've got this black tumbled PVD coating, and black thumb studs, black pivot. And then we have this bronze anodized pivot collar. When I first saw this knife in pictures, I almost thought the pivot collar was gold, because Bestech notoriously does a lot of that really tacky gold pivot collars. This is not. This is more of a bronze, and it's pretty good looking when you get it in person. And yeah, no complaints there. Now, they're calling this handle color black on the internet here. but I don't really think this is black. This is more of a bronze with black tones in it, and it is a PVD coating as well, which Bestech does insanely good PVD coatings on their handle scales. And so just look at that. This is just a beautiful finish on this titanium. I absolutely love the PVD coatings that Bestech does. I think they're some of the best in the business. And yeah. Now, these inlays are G10. And it's this crazy black and white pattern that kind of reminds me of the interior of a pimp's car. And so that's, for me, that's the biggest con of this knife. This is giving me pimp car vibes. I kind of like it, but I kind of don't at the same time. It's super flashy, and the rest of the knife is pretty, pretty subdued. You've got just nice basic colors, and then this just loud patterned G10 here. Now, I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. So it's there. Now, the other two versions of the knife, one came with micarta, natural micarta inlays, and the other came with an orange carbon fiber. Now, if I had my choice of materials, I'd rather see the orange carbon fiber on this colorway of the knife. So I will try to roll in an image here of what the other two versions look like, just so you can get an idea of how much more plain those other two versions are. This is definitely the loudest of the three versions, but this one has this oddball G10, which you either love it or you don't. This stuff is definitely wild. It's definitely crazy. It definitely takes this knife into a different zone than where the other two versions of the knife are at. Now, so on the pocket clip here, we've got sort of a diamond shaped, sort of a flat, plain milled titanium pocket clip. It is reasonably springy. It's not super stiff, and it functions perfectly well. You do have about a ½ inch of knife sticking out of your pocket there. Not too awful bad. We've got this faceted face here on the titanium scales, and then the entire knife is sort of contoured. It's not totally flat-sided. It's a very subtle contouring, and so you can see there it is contoured. And so, man, and just a really plain flat, backspacer. Nothing super different right there. We do have some effective jimping here. I can get my thumb on it fully choked up, and the jimping is effective. It functions very well. It feels good, not too scratchy, but also not non-functional. So I love the jimping. Oh man, the ergos of this knife are phenomenal. How can they not be? You've got so much handle to hang on to, and it's very neutral. There's not any oddball lines here that are going to make the knife uncomfortable. They did a good job of knocking down this edge here, so even when you are fully choked up, this is not stabbing me. It's not sharp, it's not pokey. And yeah, ergos are beautiful on this knife. Feels fantastic in hand. I feel the clip, but it's not bad. In fact, it probably just adds to the grip here, and no hot spots at all. All the edges are effectively either completely chamfered in a 45 like this, or at least rounded and knocked down. And then the PVD is tumbled to soften everything as well. And my God, this knife is okay. So when I got this, I picked it up on the secondary market. Obviously, these are sold out. You cannot just buy them at retail anymore because it was a limited production run. When I picked this up on the secondary, I kind of figured I was going to check it out, review it, and immediately sell the knife. And man, as I had my hands on this knife and you know, everything, I almost don't even want to sell it. I almost want it to be a keeper, because the quality here is just super good. Okay, so back to what I was saying, we do have the nice thumb relief here for the lock bar. You get in there, that's all chamfered out on both sides, so you have plenty of access. The lock bar is easy to move out of the way. It's not offensively stiff, although it is stiff enough. So perfect ergos everywhere on this knife. It's just, you know, it feels, everything feels great here. No complaints about the ergos. So we've covered the basic aesthetics and ergos of the knife. Now what about the action, right? I am here to tell you guys, oh my God. Okay, so this thing is a complete and total guillotine drop shut knife. So, and I'm just gonna tilt this up until it's vertical, and boom. I mean, just an absolute guillotine. Okay, the detent on this knife is dialed in pretty well, perfect for a thumb stud opening knife. And we've got some beautiful lockup sounds that I'm going to try and capture here with the microphone. So check this out. You get two different sounds when you spidey flick it using the fuller, and when you thumb flick it, you get two different sounds. The thumb flick has a deep, resounding thwack, and it sounds super good. I don't think the microphone is really going to capture how good this actually sounds, because this is a beautiful sounding lockup. It has a sound of solidness to it and absolute perfection. So different sounds here. Listen. Whoops, that one slipped. Okay, you still get a nice sound with the spidey flick, but it's different. It's higher pitch. A thwack with the thumb flick. You can spidey flick the thumb stud on the backside. Not my preferred method, but it does work. The fuller spidey flick is beautiful, works perfectly. You don't even have to think about it. You just put your finger into the fuller and flick, and it goes. And so the detent is, I'm going to put it a medium detent. I'm going to call it a 5, and that's good for a, you know, thumb stud opener slash fuller opener. A 5 on the detent scale is pretty good. I can shake the blade out because it is a large, heavy blade, and so there's that. So we've got this beautiful spidey flick, the absolute guillotine drop shut action, which is just buttery smooth. In fact, if I kind of slowly drop this knife, you can see, it is just smooth as glass all around. Now, I did take this knife apart when I got it, because I knew the action could get better with the correct tuning, and so all I did was open it and clean it and put some nano oil into the bearings, a very minuscule amount of nano oil into the bearings, and then I did lubricate the detent track. Now, let me show you when this is open. So the detent track is exposed outside of the scale here. Now this might be kind of a negative thing for some people, and I generally think it is, because, you know, you've got that area exposed. Dust obviously sticks to an oiled detent track, and so you're going to have, you know, little bits of dust that build up there and stuff. But also, more importantly, when you go to wipe the blade with a cloth, you're going to be able to easily accidentally wipe away your lubrication right there. But on the positive side, it's super easy to lubricate the detent track like this. In fact, I would say that this is the easiest detent track I've ever lubricated, because I can assemble the knife first, and then I take my little nano oil, which is the bottle like so, with a very fine tip needle oiler, and apply the exact amount I want right there on the detent track, just right in the middle. And it was just a very tiny minuscule amount. Whereas when you're doing an assembly and you're applying your nano oil, you tend to over oil it, in my opinion. And so you can see that I was able to get so little nano oil on there that you can barely tell the track is oiled. And man, as soon as I put that drop of nano oil on this detent track, this thing just turned into a guillotine, and a glassy smooth thumb stud opener. My God, this action is, for me, it's every bit, actually the whole knife, the build quality, the fit and finish, the features, the action, the ergos. This knife is up there in the quality territory with CKF. In fact, this is probably better than some CKF knives that I have owned, okay? And I really wasn't expecting this level of craftsmanship from Bestech. I've only handled a few Bestech knives. A lot of their designs to me are a little bit outlandish, and I really don't go for too many of them, though I know they do offer quality work. The few that I have had pretty good quality. This is superb quality. This is not just pretty good. This is next level quality. This is CKF. Better than, this is, to me, this is a little bit better than we. Okay, that's how good this is. This is a better than we, right up there with CKF territory. Not quite Riot, but very, very close, right? And so, yeah. So, what other details do we have here? Now, it does have a T8 pivot, and all of the body screws are, unfortunately, T6. Wish they were T8. It is what it is. All the hardware, I do believe, is stainless, and it's all got that black nitride coating. And so, yeah. Whew. Now, let's talk about the lock bar here for a second, because I don't, I consider myself a pretty big knife nerd. Obviously, that's what my channel is called. But I don't even know what to call this lock bar style. It's not a subframe lock. It's not a bolster lock. But yet half of the lock bar is kind of buried underneath this inlay. And I think this is a pretty epic design, because it helps to keep your finger off of the lock bar, but you still see the beauty of the lock bar there. It's not concealed by like a bolster. Never been a big fan of the way most bolster locks look, but this looks phenomenal. I love how the lines of the titanium flow here and flow into that, and just, God. And we do have the lock bar relief on the exterior here, but again, half of that is hidden by the inlay, so it's less obtrusive. The clip is reversible for lefties here. An odd choice design-wise. I think it would have looked cleaner without that, but hey, it's there for the lefties, and so, get some lefty love going on there. Oh, man, this action, guys, I cannot even begin to tell you how this feels. It's just something that you would have to experience yourself. How it feels, how it sounds, it all feels very solid, very precision, and just very well built. The only other flaw, aside from the minor things that I mentioned that I did find, when I first got the knife, the stop pin was rattling a tiny bit, and that is gone now. So what I did to fix that, and it's pretty common with, Chinese built knives, they may not get a tolerance exactly to spec with the stop pin there. And so the way that I fix that, I take a little tiny dab of Vibratite VC3, which is a rubbery thread locker. It's kind of similar to like the consistency of, or those rubbery type adhesives that are out there. but it's not adhesive, obviously. It's a thread locker. And then I take that, just a tiny dab, and I put it on the end of the stop pin, and then I put the stop pin into the hole. And when you do that, it creates that little rubber vibration dampener, and it kind of holds the stop pin in place. And the result is, every time, it solves any rattling stop pin. So that's a little pro tip for you guys. There are no rattles, no shakes, nothing is loose now. Everything feels rock solid and super, super well built here. Yeah. We're getting deep into the woods here at 20 minutes, but man, I'm here to tell you guys. And then look, you got Morgan Cohen's signature logo there with like a crown on it. It is M390 blade steel, as you would expect in this price range, which originally retailed for $297, so about a $300 knife. This is the factory box, and it is a pretty nice box. There is your serial designation, name, Togatta. A very nice box from Bestech here, and it is the sandwich style box where you pull the lid off, and again inside you've got your pretty standard Bestech zipper pouch, cloth. There's a pamphlet there. I haven't even really dug in here. I don't know if there's anything else, but yeah, you get the idea. Pretty nice packaging here for this Bestech. Overall, just very, very, very pleased with this knife. Now, I need to put this knife on the chopping block because I invested in a Grail earlier this week. In fact, I bought this knife on the Reddit knife swap, and then literally like 2 hours later, a Grail came up that I had been waiting for like a year. And I was like, crap, dude, I just blew that money. And so, I bought my Grail because literally that Grail, that they were in stock, brand new, and they were gone within 45 minutes. So I had to jump on it. So this knife came at a very unfortunate time because of that Grail timing. I really need to put this on the chopping block, so I probably am going to repost it back to the Reddit knife swap and sell it, down to the next owner. But that is very unfortunate because this is just a phenomenal knife, guys, all around. It would be a keeper at any other given time, but it's not right now because Grail funds must be had. So there that is. That is the Bestech Togatta. I hope I covered everything important about this knife. Let's get some final screens here going on of how beautiful this thing is. We've got wonderful chipping. The thumb studs do not protrude overly far from the scales. The thumb studs are a little on the small side diameter wise. I think they could have gone with a slightly wider thumb stud, but then it might be harder to get your finger in there on the backside to spidey flick it. So maybe that's why they went with the skinnier ones here. But man, the pimp suit, the pimp car interior G10, you either love it or you don't. I'm in the middle. This stuff it has a beautiful feel to it, guys. I can tell it's not polished, okay? It's like bee blasted, so it's grippy. It doesn't feel slick. You would think something that, a G10 that looks that smooth would feel slick, but this is kind of grippy because they bee blasted it, and I can tell they bee blasted it. And so, yeah. What else to say? This thing is just gorgeous, guys. You all have a great rest of your day, and I've got more reviews headed your way. Later.